Welcome to Cocktail Copter Explainer, where we are dealing with a very controversial issue about marital properties. But today we are looking at the properties that people own before they are married. Have you bought property before you are married? Do you have a sofa set? Do you have a camera? Do you have a car? Do you have an apartment? Do you have a small dog? Do you have a puppy? Do you have what you call is personal? Many of the Gen Zs work before they are married. You have joined the workplace, you have saved your money, you have bought your property. You have your savings before you are married. Then, at the time of marriage, remember the Marriage Act talks of marital property is property at the time acquired at the time of marriage, during the subsistence of that marriage, and at the time of dissolution of that marriage. So the questions we're asking, you have toiled, you have your property. Yours truly, the good lady or the handsome man, convinces you, you become a wife, you become married. What is the law that deals with this issue? Number two, you have met with this man. You are dating for 5-10 years before you marry. At the time of dating, the properties that you acquire, are they marital property? She's the only lady. He's the only man in your life for 5 years as you are dating. What happens with that property? Free. You are a Kikuyu, you are a Kisi, you are a Luya, you are a Meru. You conduct a traditional marriage where dowry is paid. You take 1 year to solemnize that marriage in a church service. So the effective date of marriage, is it the day you paid Rorasho or dowry was paid to you? Or is it the date you signed the marriage certificate? So if you acquire this property at the time dowry has been paid, you play the aviator or you play Betika, you get 10 million. They've married before the official church ceremony. Is that property going to be counted as property of the marriage? So these questions have been put to court, and we are looking at what will happen to these properties that were acquired before the marriage was done. This was a question that was placed before Justice the learned Judge S.M. Idinji Judge in the matter of, we said we'll note names here, it is Matrimonial Course number 4 of 2022. It was also a similar matter that was dealt with by Justice Maureen A. Odero Judge in the matter of Matrimonial Course number E022 of 2021. So, the questions were put before these two judges. A brief fact of the matter, in the Justice Odero matter, these are people who entered into marriage and they had some properties. And they entered into a prenuptial agreement, an agreement before they got married. What does the law talk? You are aware the law allows prenuptial agreements. What does the law talk about prenuptial agreement? It is provided for in the matrimonial, in section 6.1, 3 and 4. Mark my words. In section 6.1, 3 and 4 of the Matrimonial Property Act 2013 provides that. What is the meaning of matrimonial property? One, A says, for the purpose of this act, matrimonial property means the matrimonial home or homes. 2. Household goods and effects in the matrimonial home or homes. Or B. Any other immovable or movable property jointly owned and acquired during the subsistence of the marriage. I'm not worried about that because Court Helicopter brought you that. We are dealing with prenuptial agreement. We are saying Section 40, Section 6 provides in 2, despite Section 1, the parties to an intended marriage may enter into an agreement before their marriage to determine their property rights. People who are not yet married will enter into a prenuptial agreement to deal with the properties after they will be married. 3. A party to an agreement made under this may apply to the court to set aside the agreement, and the court may set aside a prenuptial agreement if it is determined that the agreement was influenced by fraud, coercion, or is manifestly unjust. So this agreement, prenuptial agreement, can be challenged in court, and they can only be vacated only if you prove 3 things: that there was fraud, there's coercion, we'll deal what coercion is, and it is manifestly unjust. What does the Black's Law Dictionary define prenuptial agreement to be? It is a legally binding agreement between a couple stating how the assets would be divided if the marriage fails to last. So the law provides that if the marriage fails, that agreement will be there. That is a prenuptial agreement. These are properties that were acquired before. But now, when you are married, can you enter into an agreement that now that we are married, in the event the marriage doesn't work, this is how our property will be dealt with? This is about properties that you have acquired during the marriage. Yes, the law talks of a postnuptial agreement. It says, on the other hand, the agreement entered into after marriage, this is an agreement that is entered after marriage, is referred to as a postnuptial agreement. Under the same dictionary, postnuptial agreement is defined as an agreement formed between a married couple, generally to provide specifications regarding the division of assets in case the couple gets separated or divorced. So there are 2 types of agreements. The agreement that deals with the properties acquired before the marriage. My advice to the Gen Z, to the millennial, make sure you enter into that agreement to deal with the properties that you have acquired before. Unless there is coercion, there is fraud, and there is misrepresentation, that agreement will stand valid. How does the court define coercion? The law says coercion in the case of POA and another in 1979. The court says, in determining whether there was coercion of will such that there was no true consent, it is material to inquire whether the person alleged to have been coerced did or did not protest, whether at the time he was allegedly coerced into making the contract. 3, if he did or did not have an alternative course open to him such as adequate legal remedy, and lastly, whether he was independently advised, and whether after entering the contract, he took steps to avoid it. We know very well, at the heat of love and the heat of passion, you might sign documents out of excitement, out of coercion, out of blackmail. If you don't sign this thing, I'll leave you, I'll abandon you. You sign. You have no fare. You've come from Kisumu. You've come to visit your girlfriend, your boyfriend. He says, if you don't sign this thing, you'll not get your fare back, your Uber back. You sign. That is coercion. Fraud. You are given a document that you sign and you don't understand what that document is. Kumbe, the signature is removed and put on that. The question the court will be asking, what steps did you do after that? So if you have been forced to sign a document, immediately rush to court to make that consent to be invalid. You quash that consent. 2, run to the DCI and report that I was forced to sign a document which I couldn't do. I was put under gunpoint. I was put under a knife point. I was put under intense pressure. That is why I had to do that to save your life. That is the only time the consent will be invalidated. So what does Court Helicopter bring you today? There is now the law of prenuptial agreement in this country. Don't walk into marriage without that, knowing that you enter into a prenuptial agreement. And once you are married, if you see the marriage is going to be problematic, you can enter into a post-nuptial agreement that deals with the properties that you have acquired. Once you have signed a post-nuptial agreement, you are not available to go back to the Division of Matrimonial Causes Court and say, me, I'm running away from this. If you lost in the bargaining of your property, or if you fear you do not have the power to negotiate, get a lawyer to be part and parcel of your negotiation. Or don't enter into any post-nuptial agreement because it will be not favorable to you. Wakili Dan Stanomari, bringing it always live from Court Helicopter, telling you, don't enter into a marriage without a prenuptial agreement to deal with the properties that you have acquired. This one I'm advising because the young people nowadays are entering marriage when they are 50. They have worked for 20 years. Young people are getting into marriage when they are 35 years. They have worked, they have acquired. So that prenuptial agreement, you can enter an agreement saying, the properties I've acquired before I marry, I will give them to my mother. The properties I've acquired before I get married, I'll give them to my friend. The properties I've acquired before marriage, I will give them to charity. That prenuptial agreement is binding and is respected by the court of law. Wakili Dan Stanomari wishing you a happy 2026, where we believe God will see us flourish, and Court Helicopter will always be there to give you explainers every weekend as they come. Thank you.